Nice to meet you all. So I figured we will all start with just introducing ourselves. Some of you may already know each other, but for those that don't, it'll be nice to just know a little bit about you. So if you can just share your name, what like school you're in, and maybe what grade, and any summer camp that you've done before, just this past summer, anything even beyond that. Oh, and I'm Mrs. Haggag or Rodwell Haggag, and I am your instructor. All right. So, who wants to start us off? Anushka. I had a feeling you were going to volunteer because I was going to call on you anyway.
I'm Anushka. I go to Chapin School, which is in Princeton, New Jersey. I'm in eighth grade, and I did Capital Debate Summer Camp and then the first fall session.
Okay, perfect. Who wants to go next? All right, let's go to you, Ava, and then Sam.
Okay, so I'm Ava. I go to Blair Academy, and I did a Capital Debate Camp at Drew University. It wasn't this past summer, but the summer before. So, yeah.
And did you do the first trimester also?
No, I didn't. I'm just starting now.
They took like a little break, and now you're back. Oh, it's nice to have you.
Thank you.
Sam, let's go to you.
Okay, hi, I'm Sam. I'm in eighth grade and I go to Lawrenceville Middle School. I did one summer at Capital Debate and then I did like the fall trimester.
Wait, you go to Lawrence Middle School?
Yeah.
In Lawrenceville?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I went to Lawrence Middle School.
Whoa, really?
All day. Yeah, I have a brother, but he's in sixth grade, so he's in the intermediate school now.
Wait, what's his name?
Ibrahim. So he'll be in the middle school next. Well, I guess by the time he goes, you'll be in the high school.
Yeah.
That worked out well. All right, thank you, Sam. Was that a hand, Lindsay? No? All right, so we'll get to you eventually. Let's go to you, Helen. I'm going to go in the order of my screen now.
I'm Helen. I go to Middlesex Middle School, and I've been to a Capital Debate summer camp, and I did an online course like 1 or 2 years ago, but it was kind of long ago, so I don't really remember.
Oh, well, it's good to have you back. And we're going to go over all the expectation and, the first day of school rules thing today anyway, so it'll make us all feel like we're at the same place. Okay, nice to meet you, Helen. Liz, can you go next?
I'm Liz. I'm in 7th grade at Princeton Day School in Princeton, I guess. I did the fall season this year. I did the summer camp, and Miss Haggag was my lab leader. And then I also did fall and winter last year.
Cool. So you know the whole drill now. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Liz. And Lindsay, now you're up.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I'm actually a junior in high school, so I feel old, but I've done Capital Debate for the past 2 summers. This is my first time doing club, so I'm excited.
Oh, it's good to know and good to have you. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the whole age thing in just a second because this trimester is a little weird. It's usually not like this, but don't feel old. We're all mature for our age. And Vanessa.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I go to Randolph Middle School in Randolph, and I'm in eighth grade. And I did the summer camp for 2 years, the past 2 years, and then I also did the fall session.
Okay, perfect. And Vanessa was with me last semester.
Yay.
So for those that were here last semester, this semester is a little different with the divisions. So last semester we had divisions based on age. So we had the U13, which was like pretty much the middle schoolers, and then the U16, which is pretty much the high schoolers. This trimester we're trying something new. I thought it would be shuffled a little bit more, but essentially it's not grouped by age anymore, but more of experience. So they kind of look at a number of things, but they're still 2 divisions. It's just one is based on how much experience you have, I guess, whether it's through the summer or through other trimesters. I'm guessing the gaps don't matter as long as they just kind of look at all the experience you have. Whereas the other division is the more newer debaters, I guess. But as far as I know, they're still shuffling around because, it's new. They're still trying it out. Lindsay, I think I had Tim in my last class, and he told me he requested to be your partner. So I told him I'll just relay the message and see if, they'll move. He's in the other division. So I don't know. This is clearly a full class. So I don't know if they're going to add him here. He would be the only gentleman here, but, or if they would move you both, I don't know. So to be determined. So hopefully, this week is still a little rough. We're just trying to get everything settled. But definitely by next week, if not the week after, everything will be pretty set, I guess. Does anyone have any questions for me in terms of anything so far? Okay, well, if you do, interrupt me at any time and feel free to jump in. Let me get my notes here. All right, so introductions. All right, so pretty much today I just want to just kind of set you guys up with what the expectation is, which I know for some of you may be very repetitive and redundant, but it's good to kind of, all start at the same area. And then I'm actually going to introduce the problem area for the debate this trimester. So the first thing I want to go over with you guys is something called the Code of Conduct, which is posted on our Google Classroom. So they didn't do this last semester, but pretty much this semester, you'll see a Google form posted called Code of Conduct. And pretty much we're going to ask if you have not yet done so to just take a look at it. And it's pretty much just a list of the expectations. And we're just going to ask you to check off yes, I understand. And then sign at the end, which is literally typing your name. So I'm just going to walk you through the expectations, but this is based on things that they've noticed in the past and, just from this last semester. So pretty much on the Code of Conduct, I can't talk today, but the first thing on there has to do with just responsibility of attendance. So just making sure that you guys understand that you are expected to be here every week. It's, it goes by pretty quick because it is a trimester, so it is pretty short and it's only once a week. So if you're out, it means I really don't see you for 2 weeks. But if you know you're going to be missing a class for whatever reason, just let me know. And then it's pretty much just the other part of the Code of Conduct is that it's your responsibility to just make sure you view back the classes and just complete any assignments that you missed. So all the classes are recorded. So they will be posted on the classroom usually the next day. So that way, if you miss the class or if you simply want to watch back something we talked about or a debate that you did, it's there for that. The other expectation has to do with cameras. So obviously you're all using your cameras, but it is a rule to actually keep the camera on during the class and just make sure that you're not, hindering my ability to see you, I guess. So just make sure you're not blocking the camera or trying to do homework on the side or anything. It's only an hour, it goes by pretty quick, but we do need your full and undivided attention. That's that. Another thing on there is to just resist distractions, which I think pretty much has to do with just being involved in the class. I hate when I'm the one doing all the talking, which I know today is going to look like that, but as we start discussing the topics more, we definitely want you guys to be, I definitely want you guys to be more vocal and more involved and just, participating in that discussion. If there's homework or anything due, which we'll talk about later, just make sure you're trying your best to keep up with that. So that way you're able to join in, which I know it's hard. You're all in incredible schools. And I know you all have a lot of assignments going on outside of school. But, trying your best to just keep up with it all. Debate. So another thing on there has to do with just partnership. So once we get to that point and you have a partner, you just want to make sure that you're being a good partner and that you are in contact with your partner and working with your partner equally. And that if there's something going on, you want to be honest with me and your partner about, how you feel, whatever it may be. One thing that's added here, and I think, Sam, this affected you last tournament, but I'm just going to read it. It pretty much says, I understand that if my partner does not attend the tournament, I will be expected to debate Maverick and should be prepared to debate both sides of the resolution at the tournament. So that one seems a little, a lot to grapple with, but essentially, so the tournament date, I think, is already set for March 3rd, which is a Sunday. If for whatever reason you know from now or leading up to it that you're not going to be able to attend or you have to leave early, that's fine. Just let me know so we can keep that into consideration. But if something comes up and you cannot make it to the tournament the day of or the night before, it's a last minute thing. It happens sometimes. Just let me know. But unfortunately, for a partnership that has a partner who doesn't come, the expectation is that you would be able to go Maverick, assuming it would be the side that you presented on, the side that you worked on rather. But part of this code of conduct has to do with both sides of the resolution, so I don't know what that is going to look like, but it is put out there. So yeah, that's pretty much mainly it. I will contact my instructors and thoughts on having difficulties. Oh, if you do have issues with your partner once we get to that point, I don't know why this is all coming up now, but it happens sometimes where you guys either disagree or not really working well together, or sometimes communication becomes a problem. But if you feel like there is an issue, just reach out to me as soon as possible, and we'll try to work something out. Because the last thing we want is, us finding out or me finding out like the day before the tournament or 2 days before the tournament, and it becomes incredibly hard to, find a solution other than going Maverick. So that way we are on the same page with that. Okay, I know this seems like a lot so far, but any questions on any of that whole code of conduct stuff? Anushka?
When did you say the tournament was again?
So the tournament, let me pull it up actually to be sure I didn't mess up the date. I believe it's March 3rd, but I'm going to pull it up in just a second. Yes, so it is on March 3rd, which is a Sunday, and it is in Morristown. So it's in the Hyatt Regency in Morristown, New Jersey.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, and I can always post more information on that, so that way if you feel like I know someone last class said they have like some sort of tournament that weekend. So if you feel like something may come up, I mean, it's very early now, but as the day gets closer, I'll just keep reminding you guys to let me know if something does come up. Go ahead, Anushka.
Yeah, because I don't know, but like March 2nd, I think I have a robotics tournament, but it might be March 3rd. So like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to debate. So,
okay.
As it gets closer, I'll tell.
Thanks for the heads up, though. I mean, I hope it does work out, and hopefully the robotics tournament is the day before. But if not, just let us know. I mean, it's hard when you're, torn between two things. But yeah, it's hard because sometimes, I mean, I know the one student that said he has a tournament says it starts at like 5, so he'd have to leave at like 3:30. So like he's still going to be able to go. He just has to leave early. But in this case, he'd probably be missing like you wouldn't be able to split the time. But yeah, so thanks for the heads up though. And definitely just keep me posted. Yeah, there's no need to know for sure like this early on. I mean, I haven't even started thinking about it yet. But I think most of us are pretty commutable to it, so that's the good news, I guess. Any other questions so far? Are everyone good? Okay. I like questions because then it breaks, my voice a little bit. Okay, so additional policy. So a lot of the policies have to do with just what's on that code of conduct, just making sure you know the expectation. Again, it really does go by quick because it seems like a whole trimester, but it's only once a week and it really does fly by in that aspect. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I didn't talk about. The classroom link. So you guys were all awesome joining in the class. The last class, it was me and one student for like the first 20 minutes. So the first day is always a little rough, especially those that are used to the later time but have it earlier or vice versa. But essentially, our class starts at 8:30, and I'll post the link 5 to 10 minutes before it. I try to be good with that. I do have the class right before this, so sometimes it runs a little late, but either way, it'll be posted, by before the 8:30 mark. And then, yeah, if you can't access something on Classroom, because I know we've already had kids that like can access Classroom, but not the links on Classroom, like the Google Form, the Code of Conduct, just let me know and we'll try to figure that out. So like I said, attendance, just make sure you are attending each class. And if you can't, just let me know. The class is required to attend. There are office hours that are optional. Last semester, for those that were in it, office hours were always on Saturdays. This semester might be a little different, so we might do something a little more flexible, where it would be Saturdays or Sundays, because there's a lot of people who had obligations on Saturdays. So that is to be determined. So just kind of putting that out there. So even though they're optional, you are encouraged to come, even if you just want to chat with me or any other of the other instructors. If you want them to look over your case, especially when we get closer to the tournament, it's really helpful. We're going to try to record office hours too, so that way if you can't remember what that instructor said or what advice you got, you can just go back and play it that way too. Homework. So, not to like put a Debbie down on you, all of you guys, but there is homework as part of the class. The homework is not, it's not like busy work. It's just things to get you ready for the tournament. Typically, I post the homework as soon as we're done with the class, and then I'll talk about it, and then I'll post it on Classroom. And then I usually put the due date for Monday, end of the day. So I think it's just set for 11:59 p.m. The reason I choose Monday is because I want you guys to have the weekend to do anything that you have to do for this class as well. But I also want to make sure I have enough time to look at it before Wednesday's session. So if, for whatever reason can't get it done by Monday, it's not like it's like a grade, but, try your best to get it done by then. So that way I can give you guys feedback as well. Especially when it comes time to just build the case. It's really helpful for me to look at it and let you know what I think too. So that's that. Communication. So obviously you guys are all in the Google Classroom. That's pretty much our main mode of communication other than, this. But if for whatever reason you have like a question or you're unsure of something, you guys can always email me. So my email, you should be able to locate right on Classroom. So if it's like, I don't know, a Monday night and you're working on something and you're just not sure, I'm pretty good with my email. I have it on my phone, so you can just shoot me an email at any time. Sorry guys, bear with me. Cameras we talked about, so just make sure your cameras are on and that I'm able to see you guys. And the muting thing has to do with, I think you guys are all muted already, which is awesome. But pretty much we just encourage you guys to keep it on mute unless you're the person talking, just because sometimes there's background noise and siblings and, piano playing and TVs and whatnot that sometimes can distract. So yeah, which I think you guys are good with that. Oh, and the last thing is just respect and attention. So obviously you guys know we're all debaters, and as debaters, you can disagree with the person and you will be disagreeing with the person. But just make sure you are always respectful of that, especially if, your personal opinion is different from someone else's opinion based on like a discussion we're having. You're obviously allowed to disagree, just making sure that you are respectfully disagreeing, and just always being respectful. So if somebody else is talking or sharing their case, you want to make sure you're listening as well, and not just kind of doing your own thing on the side, which I'm not worried about, but just kind of putting that out there. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns? Anyone at all? Everything seems good so far, makes sense? Okay. And sometimes since you guys are muted, I can never hear you when you say yes sometimes. So you can always just give like a thumbs up or, nod your head like you ladies did, and then that gives me reassurance. Okay, so that's pretty much the main thing for today, just kind of putting all those things out there. Especially those that are just joining us this year for this semester. If you're still unsure of anything or you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. We just want to make sure you are comfortable and you have a positive experience and that everything goes smoothly. All right, so you guys ready for the problem area? All right, so I wasn't too excited when I saw it, but I think it's going to grow on me like the last one. So for those that weren't here last semester had to do with voting rights, which was interesting because I remember when I thought, I was like, I don't even know what that is, but I learned so much just kind of researching it and studying it and reading cases. And I feel like this will be the same thing. All right, so for the semester, the problem area that you're going to be debating has to do with the federal judiciary system. So federal court system, American federal court system. Yay, I see some smiles. So again, not to worry. It's a topic we're all going to learn about regardless. So pretty much we're going to be looking at, again, the federal court system and just the different types of courts, the role of each courts and how they function. And I'm going to say this word for what it says here, but it says to me from corporate, be prepared to debate the merits of the system. So we're going to go over a little bit about it today. But one thing to think about is, what makes each system its system. So specifically the Supreme Court and the other courts, which will make more sense once we talk about. So for now, it's just the topic that's being released. So what you would want to do, if you have any free time on like a Friday night, is just read up on the topic and just build the background information, just to have a good understanding of the topic. And then in a couple of weeks, the resolution will be released, but at least you kind of have an idea of what it's about already. So that way you're just kind of getting accustomed to it. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a little slideshow that'll help us better understand the topic. As we're reviewing it, just a couple prompts, I guess, to think about. One thing to think about is, should judges have lifetime tenure? Should judges be elected? How important is it for judges to be impartial? And should the Supreme Court take more cases or less? So there's no answer to any of these, just kind of things to keep in the back of your mind. And if we have time, we could even start discussing just to kind of get the topic out there and the discussion out there. So, all right, let me try the screen sharing thing. All right, do you guys see the screen that I'm looking at? Okay. All right, so hopefully you all see what I'm seeing. So this is going to be just kind of a quick slideshow to just kind of walk us through the basics of the federal court system. Again, at this point, it's really just gaining just a good understanding of what is the federal court system, what goes into each court specifically, and again, the merits of each court. And then as we get close to the resolution, our research will be more focused on that. But you've all debated in some form before, whether it's through summer camps or the last semester. So, as you know, it's not just about having your contention and your evidence, but really having a good understanding of the whole topic, because you don't know what your partner or your opponent is going to bring up. But yeah, it's pretty much a short slideshow, and I will post this on Classroom because there's 2 videos linked here. We'll watch the first one together. The last one's a little longer, so I may not play that one, but it's definitely very helpful as well. Or maybe I will. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to start with a video. This is a good video because it's short and it just kind of like simply explains the federal court system kind of in like a basic 101 way that I think is easy to follow. So we'll start with this and then I'll go through it from there.
The seed of the sprawling federal court system is found in Article 3. Inferior courts as the Congress made it time, ordained, and established. In other words, if the Congress is so for separately, it is not.
Right, so let's see. So like I said, I think this is a video just because it is simple and kind of just explains everything, at least for me, in a way that's easy to follow. This topic can get complicated, but at this point, we just want to understand, what the role of each court system is, and again, just think about the merits of each system, of each court. So just kind of some things I pulled out from the video. So there's three branches of the federal courts. You have the district courts, and then the circuit courts, and then the one Supreme Court. So it kind of builds its way up. Article 3, and this is the link that we can click on as well on the slide deck if you wanted to read more about it. But pretty much Article 3 of the Constitution establishes the federal court system, and under that, Congress is the one that establishes the court system, which we can talk about as well. Again, 3 levels of the system. There's 94 district courts. There's at least 1 district court in each state and the District of Columbia. Each district includes the U.S. Bankruptcy Court as a unit of the district court. There's also some other specialty courts like the Court of International Trade, etc. For the courts of appeal or the circuit courts, there are 13 total, and again, 1 Supreme Court, which is the final resort. This was, I think, the map that was shown in the video. It was very brief, but it just kind of helps break it down by geographic boundaries and kind of seeing where all the circuit courts are as well. So these are some things that we can think about. I might have us discuss some of these things. This was mentioned in the video, but one thing to think about is this idea of lifetime tenure, which means once a judge or justice in this case is appointed, they have lifetime tenure. So they pretty much do not lose their place. They do not get reelected or reappointed after X amount of years. They're pretty much there for life unless they retire or are impeached for different reasons. This idea of being appointed versus elected. So the president is the one that chooses who should be appointed. And this idea of court packing, which has to do with choosing members of the judiciary system based on your own political beliefs. So they end up having a majority of justices and judges who are on one side of the president's perspective. And then this idea of activism versus independence, making law versus interpreting law. The last video on the slide pretty much explains what this is all about. Again, it can get a little confusing. I don't want to overwhelm you, ladies, but just to kind of put it out there of one thing that's worth looking at as well. In this slide, I'm not going to go through it now, but pretty much it's just a bunch of links. So again, I'll post this on Classroom. So if you're bored over the weekend, you can click through these and just kind of, start reading through them, I guess, and just kind of get an idea of it. Again, the goal is to just kind of build background information. There's nothing you need to really memorize or really study at this point. It's really just getting a better understanding. And then this video is here on the last slide. It's called The Basics, but it's pretty much like an 8-minute crash course. So I don't think I'm going to play this one now, but pretty much it's definitely worth viewing. And in my opinion, it's one of those videos that I would just sit down and kind of take notes on because there are a lot of terms and a lot of things that are being kind of thrown at you that may seem overwhelming and hard to keep up with. All right, let me. Oh, boy. Okay, and I'm back. All right, so what are your thoughts so far? Hopefully, other than being overwhelmed, So do you guys feel like you know enough about this topic? Do you feel like it's definitely a topic that you'll have to read more about? Um, anyone excited about the topic? Anyone not? I'm just curious to hear your opinion. Anushka?
I don't really know that much about this topic. I wasn't like particularly excited about it, but I mean, that was kind of like last time's debate, and I was fine. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I literally felt the same way. I read it and I was like, oh, it's this stuff because I'm not like a history person or I personally don't know much about this either. But I feel like the last topic, voting rights, I felt the same way. But I feel like you end up kind of immersing yourself into it and you learn a lot, just practically going through the whole process. Ava, what do you think?
So I'm actually really excited because like the idea of having like being appointed for an entire lifetime in the Supreme Court has like always made me really confused. And I've just like wondered how that could like how could we allow somebody to be like standing on a court for so long? I don't know. That's just always been really interesting to me. So I'm really excited to research about it actually, especially with like, like recent controversial elections to the Supreme Court. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm really happy you brought that up because it's nice to know someone's excited. But also, I think you're right in the sense that, at least for me, like I'll be honest, I didn't know about the whole lifetime tenure thing until the whole Kavanaugh thing made headlines, and I looked more into it, and then I kind of got confused too, and I was like, has it always been this way? Because what if people don't agree with this person or whatever it may be? So I think it's definitely relevant. I think it's definitely one of those topics that I think even if it forces you to learn more about it, I think it's helpful to really understand the system because it's really applicable. Like it's what's going on today and what's going on in the world around us. And I think it kind of helps us, as citizens, at least be able to make more informed decisions in that aspect. So I'm happy you're excited about it. I'm happy now you have an opportunity to really look into it and kind of see what it's all about too. Yeah. Anyone else? So I don't like to cold call, but I do sometimes cold call. Lindsay, I'm gonna go to you. So what are your thoughts? What are you thinking right now?
I mean, I'm actually kind of excited. I think just as a topic in general, because it's been on a lot of recent headlines, there are multiple angles and ways to consider it. I think it's not just going to be history based, I guess. There's also like just in general going to be some probably more legal based arguments. I think it'll be interesting to debate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it has, both those parts about the legal side of it and the historical side of it too. But I think because it's so relevant, it will become interesting once we get through it. What about you, Sam? You weren't snoozing over there, were you?
I think it'll be really interesting, like just to talk about and like think about, like Anushka said, like I don't really know like a lot like about the topic, but like we'll find out about it once we research and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll force you to learn more about it, and by the end of the tournament, we'll all feel like experts. Because I remember with voting rights, like I actually had an opinion on it. Like I actually felt like I knew more about it, and I was like, wow, how did I not know any of this stuff before? So part of me feels like this is going to be a similar situation. What do you guys think about, since we just brought this up, about the whole lifetime tenure thing? Do you guys think that that's something that should just be accepted for what it is, or do you think that's something that is problematic? Anyone can jump in at this point. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, like I think it could be like problematic because like if a person like starts out really good, but then like their like real self is like really annoying and like kind of has like bad views, then like they should be kicked out of office.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting too. It's kind of like, what if you didn't see the full picture when that person was nominated or elected, which I think is really interesting too. Any other thoughts? So you have to be thinking something. Wait, was that a hand, Lindsay? Yay, go for it.
I mean, I understand there are problems with it, but at the same time, I can see the alternative in saying that having lifetime tenures sort of allows judges not to make decisions based on politics or re-election or staying on the court, but instead of what they actually believe in. I think that's important, but I also understand there's a huge problem with lifetime tenure, and that it can lead to like people being appointed under misleading information. And then also there's a concern at the end of when I guess they get older, are they really able to mentally serve at the same level they were 20 years ago?
Yeah, and that's a good point too. We were talking last us about how what's her name, Goldberg, I think, someone who's on the Supreme Court now, and she's pretty much, should be retiring. She's older. She's been there for a while. She has like health things going on, but she doesn't want to retire because she knows the president's going to be able to nominate someone in her position. And she has a very liberal point of view, and she's afraid that it's going to be predominantly more conservative if she's giving that opportunity, which makes you kind of wonder then, if someone retires, it just happens to be whoever is in office is the one who gets to choose who's being put in, and then now they're there for life. So there's definitely two sides to it. One thing I think was interesting last class we were talking about is that one person said that that they feel like the people should vote, that like kind of like the Kavanaugh thing, since there are people on so many sides of it, we should hear from the people and the people should be able to kind of cast their voice. But then the other side of it has to do with, a lot of Americans aren't very informed. And we know from the last resolution that not a lot of Americans even vote for presidential elections, let alone something like a judge. So it kind of brings up this topic of, is it our place and is it practical to have the people vote? Or when we elect the president, are we electing him or her in that assumption that they are going to be able to make that decision for us? Any other thoughts? Vanessa, I'm going to go to you. So Vanessa, what are you thinking so far? Anything regarding this so far?
Mainly, I feel like I really just think the same thing as what everyone else said. But I feel like there's really just the concern of the person that became a judge, if they're really not suited for that specific job, especially like being a federal court, deciding like really just really important, making really important decisions that could harm or benefit the whole entire country. I feel like it's really important to have a good person that does that. But then if there's someone that's more biased or favors one side over the other, then that could just cause a lot of unfairness and then disruption in the whole system.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point because we know that person holds a lot of power. So it's like once they're there, it's like, what do they do with that power? Anushka?
I also agree with Vanessa and like everyone else, especially because I was like in the previous video, it was saying like it could be like it doesn't have to be an educated person. It doesn't have to be like one who graduated law school or did all of these certain things that most people would say, oh, that's what a good candidate would do. The president can like elect anyone, and without like the general population say in what and who's gonna be put in power is like also should they be there for the whole entire lifetime or not?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting too because I honestly didn't know that. Not that I assumed there were qualifications, I just never thought of it. But it is interesting because it shows that if the president can single-handedly elect or nominate a person to be part of that system, they can really point to anyone, even though historically it's been those that came from other courts and did go through the law path. It technically doesn't need to be, which I think was really interesting because I feel like it's just kind of opening doors to things that may potentially happen in the future. Thanks for sharing. Is that a hand? Helen?
I agree with what everybody else said, but since the president only appoints people to the courts, I think that others can have a say in that because the Congress can accept it or like deny that appointment. And also, I think like the president would also probably want somebody who is intelligent and does have a good background so that they can really understand everything and support them and the decisions that they might make. So I think that kind of adds like a fairness to that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, is that both those points that the Congress kind of establishes who's, there after they are nominated by the president. And the idea that they should be, they should have the credentials and they should be qualified for the position, which we know historically they have been. Like most of them come from the circuit courts or other courts and have already served X amount of years. And it's interesting because of course, there's always a method to the madness, and there is a reason behind it. But it's interesting that some of these things, kind of like the voting things, like stem back from like history. I think this one was established in like 1912 or like 18 something, where like it hasn't been changed since. Like it's still 9 people. It's still, it hasn't really changed whether because it has been working or hasn't. I think is also very interesting. And we're all debaters, so we always know to look at both sides of the issue. And it's always good to have discussions because it's good to kind of put out different ideas out there. But as we start researching, always remembering that you want to look at the full picture and really understand both sides of it, so that way you are coming to a coherent side, I guess, when you have to argue something like that. Anyone have any thoughts about what the resolution might be about? Sam is thinking. I mean, I feel like it'd be interesting if it has to do with this idea of lifetime tenure, because it has, people have been very opinionated on it once it has become, in the headlines and in recent news. So I think it would be interesting because I can totally see that having two equal sides to it. But I feel like there's so much that goes into it that, I probably don't even know about yet. But so no one has any thoughts, or you just don't want to think about it until we get it? But yeah, I mean, I'll post the slideshow, and there's also some links on the comments of each slideshow. I forgot to show you that, but pretty much under each slide, like on that little like box underneath it where you can put private comments for yourself, you'll see more links there. So that way, if again you just want to just read up about it, they're there, and then we know the resolution is going to have something to do with this. So there's no harm in reading through any of this because it'll help you, again, gain background on the topic, and B, have some sort of understanding once the resolution is established. Are there any questions on anything so far? Okay, I guess that's a good sign. All right, so the last thing for next week. So like I said, you guys do get homework, but it's nothing too rigorous. It's really just preparing you guys for what's coming. But for the first homework assignment, and those that were here last semester, you guys remember this, but pretty much for the first homework assignment, we're just going to ask you guys to list 3 goals that you have for the class. So it can be 3 personal goals. So it can be something that you personally feel like you really need to work on, or maybe something that you think is important that you can grow in. So anything that has to do with maybe delivery or preparation, or anything that you want to focus on personally. So that way I can kind of look at that, and that can help me work with you on that. So that way you are prepared, or you feel prepared as best you can be for the tournament. So that'll be a post on Google Classroom. So I'll post that as soon as we're done. And then again, if you can do that by Monday. So that and the code of conduct, if you have not yet done so. And again, if you haven't tried it, just let me know if you can't access it for whatever reason, because I know some kids have been having problems with that. I think that's all I have. Any questions about the homework? All right, so there's obviously no wrong answers, but just make sure you explain, why you have that goal, or why you think that's something that you would want to work on, because it'll help me help you, and also it'll help me just come to know you guys a little better as well, girls rather. Anything else before we end for today? All right, so we're going to end a little early, but don't get used to this because usually we do have a lot to do. But today is really just kind of getting to know one another, getting to know the whole run through, and obviously introducing the the problem area, so that way we know kind of what's coming from there. Helen?
I actually can't access the survey.
You can't access it. Okay, let me make a note of that.
I can't either.
Who was that?
Me.
Oh, Vanessa?
Oh, neither can I.
Oh, maybe there's something going on. Has anyone been able to access it?
I'm gonna try right now.
Okay, let me know.
Access what? Wait, the code of conduct thing?
Yeah, it's like a Google form.
I did that like earlier today, so
So it did work for you?
yeah.
All right, so let me write down who it didn't work from then. Helen, Vanessa, and yeah, I think there's something going on because I know last class there was a couple kids who like are on the classroom and they're in their Capital email and everything, and they couldn't access it for whatever reason. Not access code. Michelle, can you get it?
No, I don't think I can, but I could try on my computer and then see. But
It's okay. It's probably our problem. Okay, so I'll make a note of that. And then Liz, you said you did it already. Ava, did you try it at all or not yet?
I haven't tried it yet, no, but
Okay.
I will try it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure whatever, if there's like a glitch in it, they'll fix it for everyone. So for whatever reason, if it doesn't work, just kind of keep trying every couple of days and then hopefully it does work. I mean, it's a really quick survey, but it's just for you guys to see the expectations and unofficially sign. Okay, so that's that. And then I'll post the question for the goals. And I'll post the slideshow so that way it's there. And I think that's it. If you guys come across any like good resources, like as you're reading up on the topic, because I know you're all excited and you're gonna start reading up tonight. But if for whatever reason you do get a head start and you find something interesting, sharing is caring, and we don't hoard evidence here. So feel free to share it with me or share it right on the classroom because we're all kind of in the same boat right now. We just want to learn more about the topic, including myself. Okay, ladies, anything else before we go? All right, well, thank you all for coming and coming on time. You guys made this very smooth for the first class. And I will see you guys next week. I think there are office hours already. So if you do want to pop in at any point, the schedule will be posted. And if not, I'll see you guys next Wednesday. All right, thank you, ladies. Have a good night.